Okay, if you work in professional services, you know this feeling. It's a classic. You kick off a project, the scope looks clear, the profit margin looks healthy, but then, somewhere down the line, things start to go sideways. Today, we're going to dig into exactly how that happens, and way more importantly, how to stop it with something I call the scope lock framework.
So, this chart? This is pretty much a picture of a project gone wrong, and I bet it looks painfully familiar. You quote the job at, say, 120 hours. Seems totally reasonable, right? Everyone's on board. But when you finally close the books, you look back and realize you actually spent 190 hours. That huge gap, that's where your profit just, poof, evaporates.
And here's the brutal bottom line. All that extra work, all those late nights, they didn't just add to your stress levels. They literally wiped out your profit margin. This is exactly how good projects quietly become unprofitable ones in service businesses.
So how in the world does a project get so far off the rails? Well, it never happens in one big dramatic moment. It's not some obvious disaster. No, it's more like a slow leak, this invisible expansion of the scope. Let's take a look at the anatomy of this scope creep.
You know how it starts? It's almost always super innocent. It's not a formal change order or a big new request. It's usually an email or a quick Slack message or just a casual comment on a call. And that little phrase, "Hey, just a quick question." Well, that should be your first warning bell.
And here's a perfect example. Let's say your project is all about debt structuring. That's the deal. But then the client asks, "Hey, while you're in there, can you just take a quick look at the equity waterfalls?" It sounds so minor. You want to be helpful, so of course, you say yes. It's just a quick look, right? What's the harm?
And boom, that one quick look becomes a little avalanche, because that one small yes just opened the door for another little request. Now you're not just looking at something, you're actively modeling tax equity. See? Each step feels tiny on its own, but together, they're pulling you way, way off the original path. So you end up here. Look at this. You were hired to provide debt structuring advice. Simple enough. But what you actually delivered was a full capital stack analysis. The amount of work just exploded, becoming way bigger than what anyone ever quoted for.
You know, the really sneaky part about all this is that you don't feel the pain right away. You're so deep in the work, so focused on delivering for the client, that you don't even realize how many extra hours you're racking up. The real financial damage, that only becomes crystal clear months later, when you're looking at the final numbers, long after it's too late to fix it.
Okay, but let's be real. This isn't just about a client asking for more. It's about why we, the professionals, keep saying yes. And it's because we fall into what I call the good service trap. I mean, this is the big question, right? If we all know how financially destructive this is, why are we all so bad at stopping it? Why does this exact story play out over and over and over again on so many projects? And the answer is, well, it's kind of simple and a little uncomfortable. It's because we're wired to be helpful. We want to be a good partner. We want to deliver value. Saying no, or even hang on a second, feels like a confrontation. It feels like we're not being a team player, and we worry it's going to hurt the relationship. Okay, so there is a way out of this trap. There is a way to protect your profit margins without blowing up your client relationships. It's not about being aggressive or just saying no all the time. It's about creating absolute clarity from day one. Let's get into the solution, the scope lock framework.
All right, here's how it works step by step. It's a super simple structured process. First up, you've got to define. Really define your deliverables in clear, crisp bullet points, not long, fuzzy paragraphs. Second, label. When a new idea comes up, don't just shut it down. Label it Phase 2. This is a great way to acknowledge the idea without letting it derail the current project. Third, track. You have to log every single out-of-scope request. Keep a running list. Fourth, and this one is absolutely crucial, link it. Every single addition to the scope has to be linked to either a revised fee or a reduction in scope somewhere else. No exceptions. And finally, check in. Hold a quick internal profitability check every month and ask one simple question. Are we still on track to be profitable on this project?
Look, this isn't just some nice theory. Let's talk about how this actually works in the real world, how this framework can take a project that's heading for a loss and turn it into a point of leverage. So on one project, an infrastructure advisory deal, they put this framework to the test. And what did they find by tracking everything in real time? 40 hours. 40 hours of unbilled scope creep that was about to happen. A full week of work that would have just disappeared from the profit margin. And check out how fast this all happened. The project kicks off in week 1.
By week 3, because they were tracking everything, the scope creep was identified. And by week 4, just 1 week later, the conversation was had, the project was renegotiated, and the whole engagement was put back on a profitable track.
And this is the whole point, right here. The scope lock framework isn't some tool you use at the end of a project to figure out what went wrong. It's a proactive, in-the-moment system to catch scope creep before it has a chance to kill your margins. You're saving the project while it's still in flight.
So, that's the framework. And it really brings us to one final thought. A question for you, actually. This isn't just an interesting idea. It's a tool you can use today. So think about the projects on your plate right now. Which one of them needs a scope lock?